Hey, Christine, how are you doing?
Very good. But you know what? This past week, I just felt an urge to yawn so much. And
Yes.
is that part of
Yep.
the
Yes.
the whole program? Like,
So,
is that okay to do that? And it seemed like when I get really tired, I'm yawning through my mouth all the time instead of through my nose.
got it. Okay. So, number one, yawning through your nose is going to be one of the hardest things you've ever done. Okay. But it is going to be an important part of this process because we want the brain to start getting its oxygen supply from the nose. Okay. So, now this is a really good time to talk about altitude, right? Because you didn't make a comment about, I usually live at a lower, closer to sea level, and now I'm at around 8,000 feet. And so there is a huge difference there. And I want you to be aware that the way you breathe at 8,000 feet is going to look very different from the way you breathe at 600 feet as well. Exercises that seemed so simple at 600 feet seem so arduous at an altitude, okay? So that is also a very important thing to keep awareness of, because in these 12 weeks, if you keep moving back and forth and you go down there and then you come back up here, you will notice a difference in the way you're breathing as well. Okay. So, keeping that in mind and assuming that your environment hasn't been changing a lot, I will say that the moment you transition to breathing through your nose, your brain almost needs a certain amount of time period to get used to only breathing through your nose, to the point that it will almost make you want to compensate by getting you to yawn a lot. Okay? And so that's why this is totally normal. There's no problem in the moment you kind of start going through breathing through the nose, you start noticing, wow, I need to yawn a lot more. So that's perfectly normal. But when you want to yawn, what is not going to be normal is the way you yawn. So what I tell people is you have to yawn with your mouth closed. So you yawn like this, or you gulp before you even feel the onset of the yawn, and that actually sometimes takes away the yawn altogether. And usually it lasts, in the worst case scenario, I've seen it last for about 4 to 6 weeks sometimes, where the yawning kind of gradually fades away. But for a lot of people, it kind of goes away within 2 weeks. So you have to persevere, okay? This is a stage of the process where you have to persevere, and every time you feel the onset of the yawn, you want to make sure that you're not yawning through your mouth, okay? Think of it like the time when you were in school and you didn't want the teacher to see you yawning, right? We always kept our mouth closed when we yawned. Similar to that. We just want to do that all the time, okay? Great question. So, aside from that, is there any other feedback associated with some of the other exercises?
When I'm breathing, I feel it in my stomach, but I'm not sure I'm feeling it in the back.
Got it. Okay. So, when you are, so the point that you bring up tends to be something that a lot of us growing up, we tend to breathe into our belly. We say, okay, breathe into your belly, breathe into your belly. And the idea really is that we want to breathe into our diaphragm, and we want that diaphragm to, because when the diaphragm moves downwards, it actually presses against the belly and then it comes out. But what we do instead is we directly try to breathe into the belly. Okay? So it takes a little bit of time to rewire this as well. And the easiest way is to keep your hand on the side. So if you put your hand on the side, and you want to breathe only through the nose, and you want to slow it down so that you hear no sound at all. Do you notice the side expanding at all?
A little bit.
A little bit, great. And so over time, that becomes better. So at least when we're initially starting, even if there's a little amount of movement, you're good. Okay, you just want to feel that movement. Later on in the coming weeks, I do talk about deep intentional breathing, but during this week, I just want you to be aware of when you breathe through the nose, there is a tendency for it to not be so shallow, it tends to go deeper. And that's all I really want you to be aware of at this point in time. As we go through the weeks, you will notice me wanting to focus a little more on really experiencing the different parts of your body and what it feels, what I call three-dimensional breathing, what that feels like. Okay? So, weeks 1 to about 8, we're really going to be focusing more on really the physical aspects of breathing, just only through the nose, should be silent. Where do you feeling it? Is it shallow or is it deep? And then kind of progressing from there, we tend to go more into the spiritual realm. So first physical and then spiritual. Okay? Thank you.